The station creaked again. A slow, groaning sound that echoed through the empty halls of Solara Station like a ghost sighing in the dark. Commander Elara paused mid-step and looked up. The noise was familiar, but every time it happened, it reminded her how close they were to losing everything. Solara had once been a beacon, orbiting a distant gas giant in the outer systems. Now it was a dying husk held together by patchwork repairs, stubborn will, and a few brilliant minds. She checked the oxygen monitor clipped to her wrist. Still holding. Barely. Around her, the corridor lights flickered. Another power fluctuation. Second one today. Elara to control, she said into her comm. We just had another voltage dip in Section 3. Kieran's voice crackled through. Got it. I'll reroute power from the hydroponics bay again. That's the third time this week. Still better than breathing vacuum, he said with a dry laugh. Elara managed a smile, but it didn't last long. They were running out of time, out of food, out of parts, out of everything, and no one was coming. No one had come in decades. Solara had been forgotten. That much was certain. Earth had stopped answering their transmissions after the collapse. The war, the economic breakdown, the silence. All they had left were memories and static. Until last night, Elara stepped into the old comms room. It used to be bright, full of life and laughter, back when they still believed they were part of something bigger. Now it was cold, dim, wires hanging like vines from the ceiling. Only one station still worked, and only barely. Kieran was already there. 17 years old, skinny as a broomstick, with messy hair and a brain too fast for his own good. He didn't look up when she entered. It happened again, he said quietly. Elara raised an eyebrow. The power cut? He shook his head and pointed at the screen. The signal. There it was. A faint pulse. Almost invisible, but real. I thought it was noise, Kieran whispered. But it's repeating. Elara leaned in. The monitor showed a strange pattern of light blips and gaps, dots and pauses. It didn't look like any natural signal she'd ever seen. How long has it been doing this? 3 nights in a row, Kieran said. Same time, same pattern. She frowned. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because it said not to. Elara froze. What? Kieran tapped the screen, and a second window popped up. A decoded string of words, translated by an old Earth algorithm he'd rebuilt himself. Do not respond. They are watching. Help is coming. Stay silent. Elara stared at the words. Her heartbeat slowed, then sped up. You're sure this came from outside? Kieran nodded. It's bouncing off the upper orbital field. But it's not from us. Not even from the station. Her mind raced. Couldn't be one of the other colonies. The others were gone. Destroyed, or cut off even worse than Solara. And Earth? Earth was silent. Had been for 30 years. Still, the message. It was in English, and it warned them not to answer, not to speak. Elara leaned against the console, suddenly cold. We've been talking for decades, she said. We sent out hundreds of messages. If something was listening, Kieran finished the thought. They already know we're here. Another creak rolled through the floor beneath them. This one deeper, heavier. That wasn't the station. Both Elara and Kieran looked at each other. Then the console lit up again. A second signal. Stronger. No words this time. Just a loud pulse that filled the room with static. They covered their ears. Then it stopped. Outside, in the black space beyond the windows, something moved. A shadow passed across the face of the gas giant, just for a second. No lights, no engine glow, just a shape. Smooth, silent, watching. Kieran stepped back from the glass. That wasn't one of ours. No, Elara said. It wasn't. The comm screen blinked again. They are close. Hold. Do not transmit. The fleet is near. She stared at the words until they burned into her mind. A fleet. Coming for them? Could it really be true? Or was it bait? She reached for the power switch. Commander, Kieran said, his voice shaking. What do we do? Elara turned toward him. Her face was pale, but her voice steady. We prepare. For what? For the day we stop being forgotten. Far below them, deep inside the station, a long dead panel flickered to life. And somewhere in the void, something answered back. But not in English. The station was colder than usual the next morning. A damp chill crept through the halls of Solara, clinging to the metal walls like fog that wouldn't lift. Power was being rationed harder now. Heating cycles were cut in half. Lights dimmed. Doors stuck more often. Commander Elara Voss walked slowly through Corridor 6, her boots clanking on the steel floor. She could hear coughing behind some of the sealed doors. People were getting sick. She didn't know if it was stress, recycled air, or something worse. Kieran sat on the floor outside the med bay, a tablet in his lap, cords tangled around him like vines. He looked up as she approached. "Any updates?" she asked. He nodded, tapping the screen. The signal came again. Same time, same pattern. And something else. Elara knelt beside him. "What?" I tracked the source more closely. It's not just coming from orbit. It's bouncing off something. Something very close. How close? Inside the system. Possibly inside the station's shadow. Elara's chest tightened. "You're saying it's hiding behind the gas giant?" "Could be. Or something cloaked near our orbit. Something small. Watching." She looked at the tablet again. The signal was steady. Too steady. Natural signals didn't do that. Noise didn't repeat with perfect timing. She stood and opened the medbay door. Inside, Dr. Kellen was tending to 3 patients. 2 of them were children. The third was a young hydroponics worker with tremors in his hands and pale skin. Kellen looked up, eyes tired. "It's spreading," he said quietly. "Symptoms are all the same. Confusion, fatigue, sensitivity to sound. No virus I've ever seen. Nothing in the old medbanks matches." Elara felt the weight pressing on her again. "I want blood samples analyzed through the backup AI," she said. Kellen shook his head. "That system's offline. We don't have the power." Elara turned to Kieran. "Can you bring it back?" "I'll try," he said. "But I'll need help. Find Talia. She owes me a favor." Kieran gave a quick nod and jogged off down the hall. Elara walked back toward the control center, deep in thought. Something was wrong. More than just sickness and decay. The station wasn't just dying. It was being picked apart, slowly, silently. In the control center, Talia Wren was already waiting. She leaned over a console, muttering as sparks danced from a loose wire. "You heard?" Elara asked. Talia nodded without looking up. "The signal?" "Yeah." "Kieran showed me. Also found one of these." She reached into a pouch and dropped a small, black object onto the table. It looked like a piece of metal but more polished. Almost insect-like. "What is it?" "Drone. Tiny one. Hidden inside the life support vent in Dorm C." Elara leaned closer. "Active. Dead now. But it was recording. And broadcasting somewhere." Elara stared at it, heart pounding. "How long?" "No way to tell." Elara picked up the object carefully. The surface felt too smooth. No markings. No seams. No way it was human-made. She placed it gently on the table. "We're being watched." Talia didn't reply. She didn't need to. That night, Elara stood alone in the station's observatory dome. It was cracked at the edges, frosted with age. The stars above blinked cold and distant. One of them, the smallest, pulsed faintly. The same pulse pattern as the signal. A chill ran through her. Not from the cold. From understanding. Something was waiting for them to respond. Listening. Kieran's voice came through her earpiece. "Commander, I think I've done it." She turned from the window. "Go on." "I got the medical AI partially online. It analyzed the patient samples. And something weird happened." "What?" "The AI flagged one of the blood samples as contaminated. Not with disease. With code." Elara blinked. "Code?" "Yes. Not like a virus or bacteria. Actual digital code, embedded in the DNA. It's artificial. Someone put it there. Elara gripped the edge of the console. You're saying it's been engineered? Exactly. Not by us. Before Elara could reply, the station lights flickered, then pulsed. Not the usual stutter. It happened in a clear rhythm, on and off. For times. Pause. Then again. She stared at the blinking lights, heart pounding. Pattern. A signal. Kieran's voice returned, quiet and afraid. That's not from us. And outside the station, deep in the black, something drifted silently past their orbital scanners. Just for a second. A shape, large and slow-moving, gone before it could be identified. But not before it left one more signal behind. A single word. Soon. Kieran didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. The blinking lights. The blood sample with code in it. The drifting shape outside the station. It was all too much. He sat in the storage bay, his back against a crate of emergency rations, tablet in hand, lines of data running down the screen. The message kept repeating in his head. Soon. What did it mean? Soon what? Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. He looked up. Talia stepped in, wiping oil from her hands with a rag. You're still up, she said. Could say the same about you. She shrugged. Too much noise in my head. Kieran hesitated. Do you think someone's out there? Watching us? Talia looked at him for a moment, then sat across from him. I think someone never left. Maybe they were always out there. Maybe we just weren't important enough to notice until now. Kieran showed her his screen. I've been tracking that signal. It's too consistent. Too precise. It's not background noise. You think it's them? I think it's a warning, but I don't know from who. Talia nodded slowly. And you think we're still transmitting? Kieran hesitated. The station's always had a beacon running, even on low power. It was meant to help rescue ships find us. Talia looked grim. What if it's what's keeping them here instead? That thought sat heavy between them. Kieran took a deep breath. I want to shut it down, just for a while. See if anything changes. Talia stood. I'll go with you. They made their way to the central relay chamber. Most of the station was asleep. The air was cold, and the corridor lights flickered as they passed. The beacon relay was deep beneath the control tower, in a cramped room filled with old servers and humming cables. Dust floated in the flashlight beams. Kieran opened a panel and reached for the main feed. His fingers trembled. You sure? Talia asked. He nodded. If someone really is coming, we should be ready on our own terms. He pulled the switch. The hum stopped. The lights in the room dimmed. For the first time in decades, Solara Station fell silent. They stood in the quiet, listening. Nothing happened. But above them, in the black void beyond orbit, something stirred. On the other side of the station, Commander Elara stood alone in the observation deck again, watching the stars. She didn't know why she kept coming here. Maybe habit, maybe hope. Maybe because the stars never changed, even when everything else did. Then she saw it. Flash. Quick. Distant. But not natural. Not a meteor. Not a flare. Something had shifted. Kieran? She said into her calm. Are you seeing this? His voice came back, tense. I just shut down the beacon. Why? To see what they'd do. There was a long pause. Then another flash. Closer. Then another. For, in a perfect line. They're signaling, Kieran whispered. Or moving. Elara narrowed her eyes. Get back to control. Now. Within minutes, the core team was gathered in the station's control center. Elara, Kieran, Talia, Dr. Kellen, and a few senior engineers. Kieran pulled up the feed from the external sensors. What are we looking at? Elara asked. Kieran tapped a few keys. I've enhanced the contrast. Watch. On the screen, space looked normal at first. Then, slowly, shapes began to appear, only barely visible. Almost like shadows bending the light around them. Cloaked ships, Talia said, voice flat. Not ours, Elara said. Kieran zoomed in. There are 5 of them. They've been there for days. Maybe weeks. Dr. Kellen stepped back. We were never alone. Why haven't they attacked? Talia asked. Elara's jaw tightened. Because they're watching, studying us. And now? Kieran asked. What happens now that the beacon's off? Everyone looked to the commander. She stared at the screen, at the shadows above them. Then she said, now we find out why they came. At that moment, every terminal in the room went dark. Total blackout. Then, one by one, the screens turned back on. Only one message showed. You were warned. And underneath it, something else. The silence has ended. The message stayed on the screens for a long time. You were warned. The silence has ended. No one spoke. Then the room lights flickered again. Kieran reached for the console, trying to pull up the sensor data. Nothing responded. The station wasn't just glitching, it was being controlled. I've lost access, he said. Someone's inside our systems. Is it them? Elara asked. Kieran nodded slowly. They're in our core. Talia stepped back. That means they could shut down life support. They could shut down everything, Kieran said. Get us back online, Elara ordered. Whatever you have to do. Cut every outside link if needed. Kieran dropped to the floor and pulled open a panel. Wires spilled out. He began disconnecting external feeds one by one. Give me 10 minutes. Elara looked at the others. We need to prepare for the worst. If they can reach our systems, they can reach anything. What do we do? Dr. Kellen asked. We have no weapons. We have our minds, Elara said. We survived for 30 years with scrap and grit. We'll survive this. Talia stepped forward. There's something else. I ran a deep scan of the lower sectors yesterday. I found something strange. Devices hidden in old storage bays. Small. Almost like transmitters. You think they planted them? I think they've been here longer than we thought. Elara's face went pale. We've been a lab experiment. Kieran looked up from his wiring. Or a trap. Suddenly, a low sound echoed through the station. A long hum like metal stretching. Came from everywhere and nowhere. Then movement. Sensors flared back online for a second. Just enough to catch it. One of the cloaked shapes had left orbit. It was coming closer. Not fast. Slow. Deliberate. They're approaching, Kieran whispered. Elara straightened. How long until they reach us? Kieran checked a nearby screen. 10 minutes, maybe less. Lock every hatch. Seal off all non-critical sectors. Talia, get to the backup generator. If they shut down the grid, we'll need another power source. Talia nodded and ran out. Kieran stood up. I can try to isolate the AI core. We might be able to trap whatever's inside our system. Do it. The control room buzzed with quiet movement. The team worked fast, fingers tapping, tools clinking. Fear hung in the air like smoke. Kieran stared at a flickering screen. Lines of alien code rolled across it. Not like anything human. Not like anything he'd ever seen. Symbols that changed shape, pulsed, moved like they were alive. He copied them to a separate drive just in case. His hands shook. Then, a message appeared. Just for him. You should have stayed quiet. He froze. Elara, he said. They're talking to me. What do you mean? Through the code. It's like a conversation. I think they're trying to scare me. Is it working? Kieran gave a tight smile. A little. The station shook suddenly. A deep, dull vibration rolled through the walls. Not an explosion. A docking impact. They're here, Elara said. Everyone looked at her. No one moved. Stay calm, she said. They want us afraid. Don't give them the pleasure. Kieran checked the systems again. One of the side hatches just unlocked. Elara's eyes narrowed. I didn't authorize that. They're overriding everything. Can you seal it? Trying. Another tremor. Then a hiss. Somewhere down in Sector 4, a door opened. Elara grabbed her headset. Talia, talk to me. Do you see anything? Static answered. Talia? She said again. Still nothing. Elara turned to Dr. Kellen. Get everyone out of the med bay and into the emergency shelter. Quietly. Don't cause panic. He nodded and hurried out. Kieran's fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm rerouting control, trying to isolate the system from outside commands. Then the cameras blinked on for 1 second. Just one. Long enough to see something move past them in the corridor. It didn't walk. It glided. His body seemed to shift between solid and transparent. Like smoke and glass. His face was smooth. No eyes. Just a dark, reflective surface. Did you see that? Kieran whispered. I saw it, Elara said. Whatever that is, it's on our station. Then the main screen flickered. A new message appeared. Now we begin. The hallway outside the control room fell into a strange silence. No footsteps. No voices. Just a low, constant hum in the air, like the station was holding its breath. Kieran stared at the message on the screen. Now we begin. What do they want? He asked softly. Elara didn't answer right away. Her eyes were fixed on the door, as if expecting it to open on its own. They want to see what we'll do, she said. Maybe they always have. Kieran stepped back. You think this is a test? Or a game? Or both? The lights flickered again. A red emergency glow replaced the usual white. Then a soft hiss sounded from above, ventilation pressure releasing. Elara turned to Kieran. Get down to the relay room. Cut the backup network if you have to. No more signals. No more control. Kieran grabbed his toolkit and ran. Down in Sector 4, Talia crouched behind a support beam. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She had seen it, the thing moving through the corridor. It didn't make a sound, but the lights flickered wherever it passed, like it carried static in its skin. She pressed a hand to her comm. Commander? I'm in the backup generator room. Something's wrong here. Elara's voice came back, fuzzy. Talk to me. It's active, Talia said, but something spliced into it. The output's unstable, like it's being drained. Can you fix it? Not without a fight, Talia muttered. And not alone. She heard a soft tap behind her. She turned. Nothing. Then, from the corner of her eye, movement. She spun and raised her torch. There it was. Tall. Slender. Smooth armor that shimmered like liquid metal. No eyes. No mouth. Just that glass-like face, tilted toward her. It didn't attack. It just stood there, watching. Talia's voice shook. What are you? The thing tilted its head. Then, in a voice not its own, her voice, it whispered, I am what waits. Talia's blood ran cold. Then it moved fast. She dove behind a crate just as a beam of light burst from its hand and scorched the wall. The heat was intense. She rolled, grabbed a wrench, and slammed it into the nearest panel. The generator sparked wildly. Lights burst overhead. The creature hissed, stepping back. Talia took the chance and ran, breath ragged. Up in the relay room, Kieran slammed a panel open and yanked a bundle of wires free. Sparks danced across his hands. He didn't stop. The main control light blinked once, then turned red. The station's outer links were gone. No more incoming signals. But then, from the shadows behind him, a whisper, too late. He spun around. No one was there. But the screen behind him had changed again. You break the tools. We become the storm. Back in control, Elara saw it too. She slammed her hand on the comm. Everyone. Fall back to core shelter. This is a full breach. Repeat, full breach. Alarms blared. Doors slid shut. In the medbay DR. Kellen rushed to gather the sick. He pulled a child into his arms, shouting to the nurses. Move! Get them to the shelter. Lights went dark as the station's grid began to fail room by room. Elara remained calm. She led the way toward the shelter, pistol in hand, one of the few weapons left that still worked. As they passed a viewing port, she stopped. Outside, above the station, the shadow ships moved. Slowly, purposefully, like predators circling a wounded animal. Where's the fleet? She whispered. For years, Earth had been silent. Had they finally sent help? Or had the aliens already reached them too? Talia limped into view, a burn across her sleeve, gasping. They're not just watching, she said. They're inside the station. Inside everything. Elara helped her walk. We'll hold them off. Whatever it takes. Kieran arrived last, sliding into the shelter just as the heavy doors locked behind him. His face was pale. I saw more of them, he said. They're multiplying. Like projections. Like, they're not fully here yet. What does that mean? Elara asked. I think they're trying to open something. Everyone stared. Open what? Someone asked. Kieran pointed upward. Something not from this world. Then the whole station trembled. Not from damage. Not from weapons. But from something deeper. Like space itself was changing. And somewhere above them, the void had begun to ripple. The shaking stopped. For a moment, everything was still. Then a deep sound rolled through the station. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't a system alarm. It was low and slow, like the groan of a giant waking up from a long sleep. Inside the shelter, no one spoke. Elara looked around at the faces. Tired, scared, waiting. Some held hands. Others just stared at the floor. Kieran stood beside the control panel, watching the emergency feed from the station's cameras. Most of them were black, dead. But one was still working. He leaned closer. I think I found it, he whispered. Elara came over. Found what? Kieran pointed at the screen. Their source. Their signal is pulsing from the old comms tower. The one that hasn't worked in years. That tower's been dead since the fire, Elara said. Not anymore. It's active. And it's glowing. The camera showed the tower's core bathed in pale blue light, the same color as the alien code. Talia stepped forward. If that's where they're coming through, maybe we can shut it down. Elara nodded. We need a team. Just a few of us. Quiet. Fast. Kieran raised a hand. I'm going. You've done enough, Elara said. I started this, he replied. And I know how to stop the signal. She didn't argue. She just looked at Talia. You're with us. Talia checked her gear and nodded. Dr. Kellen, Elara said. You stay here. If we fail, you keep these people alive. The doctor's eyes were heavy, but he gave a firm nod. Elara turned to the group. Lock this door. No one opens it until we return. No matter what. Then the three of them, Elara, Kieran, and Talia, stepped out into the dark corridor. They moved carefully. Lights flickered. Pipes hissed. The air felt thicker, heavier, as if something unseen was pressing against them. Elara held her old pistol tight. Talia had a crowbar in one hand and a makeshift flashlight in the other. Kieran carried a small box covered in wires, his homemade signal jammer. The path to the comms tower took them through one of the old science labs. It was empty now, except for shattered glass and dried-up tools. Then something moved in the far corner. Elara raised her pistol. Show yourself. Silence. Then a whisper. Don't go. A shape stepped forward. It looked like a person at first. A man in a worker's uniform. But his face was wrong, blurred, like a smudged photo. His body shimmered at the edges. Talia stepped forward. Is that Connor? Elara's breath caught. Connor had died 2 years ago in a fire. There had been a memorial. A funeral. The shape tilted its head. We remember him. You remember him. So we used him. Elara fired. The blast passed through the figure. It didn't bleed. It didn't fall. It just vanished like smoke. They ran. By the time they reached the tower base, the light was pulsing brighter. The blue glow spilled into the hallway. Elara turned to Kieran. Can you stop it? He opened the box and pulled out a thick cable. If I connect this to the control port and pulse the jammer, it should collapse the signal. Talia looked up at the glowing structure. Should. Kieran shrugged. Never tested it before. They moved inside. The core chamber was blinding. Symbols scrolled across the walls, dancing like fire. The air buzzed with energy. Kieran crawled under the main panel. His fingers worked fast. Sparks flew. They're coming, Talia said, backing toward the door. She could hear footsteps, soft, echoing, too many. Elara aimed her pistol at the hallway. Hurry, Kieran. Almost. Got it. The lights pulsed faster now. The humming grew louder. The symbols on the wall changed, shifting into a spiral. Then Kieran shouted, "Now!" He hit the switch. The jammer sparked to life, shooting out a pulse that rocked the room. The blue glow flashed once, then shattered like glass. The symbols vanished. The hum stopped. Silence. Talia stepped to the doorway. They're gone. Elara looked down at Kieran. You did it. He smiled, sweat running down his face. I think I broke the door. Back in the shelter, the lights came back on. The emergency screens lit up. No more alien messages. No more warnings. Just stars. Real ones. Peaceful. Elara tapped her comm, control to all survivors. The signal is gone. They're gone. For the first time in days, people cheered. But far above them, hidden beyond the reach of scanners, something still watched. Waiting. 3 days passed. Solara Station was quiet again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This time it felt like peace. The lights were steady. The power systems held. Life support ran without random failures. Kieran had reconnected the beacon, this time under heavy encryption, with no auto-replies and no open signals. Just a quiet ping. A heartbeat. Talia stood in the garden dome, now running on full light cycles. Green sprouts pushed through the dirt, tiny and fragile, but alive. She wiped sweat from her brow and looked up through the dome's clear panels. Stars filled the sky. It's beautiful again, she whispered. Elara stood beside her. Not bad for a station held together with duct tape and hope. You think they're really gone? Elara didn't answer right away. No, I think they're still out there. But we hit them where it hurt. We showed them what we are. Talia looked at her. And what's that? Elara smiled faintly. Human. In the central hub, Kieran ran a scan across the system logs. He had been checking every hour just in case. No more unknown signals. No more shadows in the data. But something strange did appear. An incoming transmission. Short, faint, different. He ran the filter. The signal cleared. It was human. He jumped to his feet and activated the control room comm. Elara. You need to see this. Minutes later, Elara and Talia were at his side. What is it? Elara asked. Kieran turned the volume up. The message played. Solara Station. This is Commander Imani Voss of the Terran Reach Fleet. We received your signal. We're en route. ETA 6 hours. Elara's mouth fell open. Imani. Kieran looked confused. You know her? Elara nodded slowly. My sister. Talia blinked. Your sister's in the fleet? She was. Before the war. I thought she was lost like the others. They stared at the message again. ETA 6 hours, Kieran repeated. They're coming. Word spread quickly through the station. People gathered in hallways, talking, laughing, crying. For so long, they had been forgotten. Now someone was coming. From Earth. From home. When the fleet arrived, it came not in silence, but in strength. 5 ships. Sleek, silver, shining. Engines burning bright. They took up orbit above Solara, and one small vessel descended just like before. But this time there was no fear. No shadows. No warnings. Just a ship full of humans. Elara stood at the landing platform, wind tugging at her coat as the craft touched down. The doors hissed open. A woman stepped out, tall and steady, her black uniform pressed, silver hair tied back. She wore no helmet. Her face was calm, proud, and somehow familiar. Elara took a step forward. Imani, the woman smiled. Took me long enough, didn't it? The sisters embraced. The crowd around them burst into cheers. Imani looked over Elara's shoulder at the worn buildings, the patched walls, the people who had survived impossible odds. You built all this? We held it together. You did more than that, Imani said. You held the line. They walked together through the station. Kieran gave Imani a tour of the systems. She listened closely, asked smart questions, and smiled at the mention of the alien code. We've been tracking similar signatures, she said. We call them the Watchers. They don't speak. They don't invade in the way we expect. They observe. And when they think we're weak, they test us, Elara said. Amani nodded. Your signal, your silence, told us something was happening here. Triggered the search. That's how we found you. Talia leaned against the wall nearby. So what now? Amani looked around. Now we rebuild. Together. You're not taking us back to Earth? Kieran asked. Only if you want to go, she said. But we're not here to pull you out. We're here to stand with you. This station will be our forward post. A warning to the Watchers. Humans don't break. We adapt. We fight. We survive. Elara smiled. That sounds familiar. Later that night, Kieran sat in the observatory. The stars felt different now. Not empty. Not cold. Just full of stories not yet told. He tapped a few keys and opened the secure beacon signal. He added one short message. Solara Station online. Earth has returned. We are not alone. He hit send, then leaned back, watching the stars, wondering who would hear it next, and what they would become when they answered.